So the buck that I call Double Beam, you can now see why he got that name. As a 5-year-old, out of nowhere, this buck developed a third main beam. He had no non-typical points before. I mean, this is a big body, mature mountain buck, and he is showing up on camera consistently. I mean, this guy is posing like crazy. So the early season has came and gone. The big buck that was showing up a lot during daylight hours, he has went nocturnal. So I kind of lay off a little bit. I don't pressure the deer. I'm waiting for those cool mornings in late October when those big boys start to get on their feet and cruise to get back out there.
We're set up in the stand. It's early November and it's not the best conditions. It's in the lower 70s right now. It's as warm as can be. We got swirling winds. Not the greatest day when it comes to weather conditions, but it is early November. The bucks are starting to get on their feet. Got a couple really good bucks in this area. And they've been showing up here and there during daylight hours. They've just been showing up when I'm not in the stand. So hopefully we get lucky and cross paths with them here real soon. Hopefully today's the day we can put this elite bow to work. Well, I think we're going to get ready to get out of here. We're about out of camera light. The wind just killed us today. The warm weather was bad enough, but the wind was just whipping, the tree was swaying. Deer weren't moving very good. We did see 2 decent bucks, a couple does though. More than I thought we would have seen with the wind. We're going to pack up, get out of here. I'll be back here first thing in the morning. Got dressed, we're headed out to the stand. We put everything in sealed bags. And then we park, we try to get in the woods, get away from the vehicle, anything with human scent, put our gloves on, get all of our clothes out, get dressed. That way we don't get any human odor on the outer layer of our clothes. We spray down, try to be as scent free as possible, and then take our time walking into the stand so we don't break a sweat.
Throughout the last couple years, I have spent countless hours in the stand hunting this buck that I now call Double Beam. And Dave Cato and I, we have been in the stand together and spent so many hours in the woods together, scouting this deer, hanging stands. And I'm sitting there, the rut is in full swing. We're in November. Dave hits my shoulder and he said, "Kenny, I just saw a big buck down the point."
You think it was a big one? Yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I like to hear, Dave. That's what every hunter wants to hear. He was wild. When they see it, when they hear the cameraman say, "Here's the deer, here's the buck. It's a big one." And that one does his thing.
Just when we had thought the big buck Dave saw left the area, out of nowhere he appeared, but it wasn't just any big buck. It was Double Beam headed right toward us. So as this deer finally goes out in front of the stand, gives me a slight quartering away chip shot at 20 yards, I'm thinking game over. Meh, meh. So what y'all think of that shot? It was terrible. I mean, I went from the highest point as a hunter to the lowest point like that. You know, when that deer stepped out, I had a perfect shot, the shot that every hunter hopes for. And as I was at full draw and I went to look through the peep to settle my pin and my peep was turned, I even turned my head because I couldn't see through the peep very well. Tried to put my head back on my anchor point, keeping the pin in the same position. And, you know, evidently the pin wasn't where I thought it was. You know, this is an animal. You know, we never want to wound an animal. And look, I'm not a professional hunter. I have a day job. I have a family. This is not my full-time job. I make mistakes, and God, my wife would tell you I make a lot of them, but I made a big one on this day. And you should never take a shot at an animal unless you're 100% sure of your aiming point and you're comfortable. And I wasn't. I mean, my heart was racing a million miles an hour, and I made a mistake. So to my surprise, about 5 days later, the buck that I called Double Beam showed up on my covert cell camera chasing a doe. Hours in the stand hunting this deer, but I've yet to see him in 2018, yet to lay eyes on him. But now there's a front coming in. The temperature is dropping. It's November. We're supposed to have some snow flurries. I mean, everything's in my favor at this point except one thing. Dave Cadle, that had been running the camera for me, had obligations with his kids that weekend and he couldn't come out. I'm not taking any chances. Solo filming is hard, but it is very difficult during the rut. The bucks are chasing, they're running, they're moving. Solo filming without a cameraman is hard. So I'm going to leave the Elite bow at home. I'm getting out the Cam-X A4 crossbow and I'm headed to the stand, and just hopefully today is the day.
The wind is absolutely brutal this morning. 20 miles per hour probably. It's changing directions. But we had a cold front come in yesterday evening. Brought a little snow last night at the ridge top. There's a dusting on the ground. And it's the second week of November. The temperature has dropped tremendously these next couple of days. Hopefully the wind will die down later, but even if not, this time of year, the cold weather, the bucks ought to be on their feet. I'm pretty excited. Oh, thank you, Lord. It looked like it smoked him. Oh my God, I've been hunting that deer for 3 years, since he was 4 years old. And I had an encounter with that deer last year and I messed up, and I think I just sealed the deal. Oh my goodness, thank you, Lord. Yeah, yes, that is so awesome, I'm telling y'all. Well, 4 years later, and about 4 hours after I shot him today, we finally got our hands on this brute of a West Virginia whitetail buck. I got pictures of this deer the first time when he was 3 years old, 4 years ago. At 4, I hunted him. At 5, I hunted him. At 5 years old, he had a big double main beam. He was a bigger rack at 5, and I made a horrible shot on him. And he got away, but he survived it. I found him again this year. Had pictures of him during the summer. He disappeared. Found him again a mile, maybe 2 miles away. We're here in the middle of November. And man, what a brute. I know I didn't get this deer with my Elite. I'm a huge bow hunter. I love bow hunting, but hurt my shoulder recently, and thankfully West Virginia, it's legal to crossbow hunt. So I brought out the Cam-X, first time I've ever crossbow hunted for a deer in my life.